Before any project begins, before molds, before mixing, even before a pour, there's a step that often gets overlooked, and that's storage and handling. Today's video isn't a build, it's a walkthrough of how epoxy can be stored and organized in a real working shop, and more importantly, why that matters. The goal here is to show an example of a practical system that you can adapt to your own space, whether you're just getting started with epoxy or looking to refine how you work with it. Epoxy is a material that rewards consistency. How it's stored, how it's handled before a project ever starts, plays a big role in how successful that project will be. Issues like cloudy resin, cure problems, or surface defects that often start long before epoxy is mixed. Proper storage helps eliminate variables so the product has the best chance to perform as it's intended. So I thought I'd give you some tips and some tricks and some good ideas, best practices in terms of storing your epoxy and all your supplies. So what you're seeing here is a shop that's really mid-organization. I've been working really hard for the last month or so to really just reorganize, revamp, and increase my workflow in terms of my epoxy projects. This isn't a perfect finished setup. It's really just an example of an initial storage system that's already improving my workflow. Using a dedicated cabinet for epoxy supplies keeps everything off of your work surfaces, keeps it protected, and easy to access. And for many people, this alone is a major step forward. Now let's talk about storing the resin itself. Resin storage starts with keeping parts A and parts B together. You also want to make sure that your containers are stored upright, that they're sealed and kept up off of the floor. It's really important that you keep them in a space where the temperature stays relatively stable. So something that I learned the hard way, and I want you to learn the easy way, is to make sure that your labels are kept visible. This helps prevent mix-ups and also speeds up your prep time. The goal isn't perfection, it's really consistency and control. Another good habit is making sure that you rotate your stock. Really, that's just making sure that your older containers are kept more towards the front and the ones that you would grab first when you go to do a project. While epoxy is durable, it's still best practice to avoid letting materials sit unused for long periods of time. So if you've got a partially used container and that ends up in the back, that's going to sit longer, and chances are you probably had it for a longer period of time. So by keeping it up front and visible, it just ensures that you're going to grab that one first. Even though Upstart Epoxy gives their products kind of a shelf life for their different types of resin, if you store it properly, and especially if you keep the temperature stable, then you can probably prolong that life a little bit. But good storage habits support long-term reliability regardless of brand. All right, moving on to all the other things epoxy related in terms of storage. I like to make sure that all my measuring and my mixing tools are stored together. All of your cups, your scales, if you use them, stir sticks, gloves, tape, really anything that's non-resin but is involved in your measuring and your mixing process. Keeping these items in one place reduces mistakes and helps to ensure that each step is done carefully, especially if you're a beginner. Another good piece of advice is to keep all of your colorants, your pigments, any additives like your glitter or other things like that, make sure that they're all stored in a sealed condition, right? If it's in a container, make sure that it's closed tight. If it's in a little bag, make sure you seal it correctly. And then you make sure that they're all organized. I personally like to organize mine by color family. So like all my blacks and my grays together, all of my different variants of blue, red, orange, any of that, you get the idea. But try to keep them organized. That'll make it a whole lot easier and quicker for you to choose a color. And if you know you want to go with a specific look on a project, kind of a specific color mixed with whatever species of wood you've got, there's multiple variants and multiple shades. Some of them swirl better, some of them have a little glitter effect, a little shimmer, you know, so you can break out like all of your blues, for example, happens to be one of my favorites, and you can kind of see what all you've got rather than having to go through a bunch of little boxes and stuff like that. When it comes to all of these colorants and pigments, moisture and contamination can often affect the color and the consistency. So giving these materials their own space and make sure that they're sealed is an easy way to avoid lots of issues later down the road. All right, let's talk about our molds. If you're storing a mold, chances are it's probably a silicone mold or one of those HDPE plastic preformed molds. If you're making your own molds, you're likely not going to store them. They're kind of a one and done kind of thing. But I have a lot of silicone molds. So when I'm storing my silicone molds, storage really matters. You want to make sure that they're kept clean. So after each project, take the time to clean them. And the silicone molds, the great part about those, because the resin really doesn't stick to them a whole lot, you can really just kind of peel off any little specks that are on there. But it's just as easy as taking some warm soapy water, rinse the inside out. You could also clean it with alcohol and wipe it down. Sometimes it's just as easy as taking it to the garden hose or the water spigot and just spraying that sucker out. Either way, make sure that they're clean when you put them away. Make sure that they're protected as best you can. Some of mine came in boxes or containers that make good storage, and so I'll hold on to those, like these Upstart epoxy molds, the 18 by 12 molds. The boxes they came in are perfect for storing them away, keeping them protected so they don't get crushed. Some of my other ones come in like plastic bags. I can put it in there, seal it, keeps the dust and debris off of it. Keeps it well protected. It's okay to store some of the similar sizes kind of on top of each other, but be sure that you're not putting so many on top of each other that they're kind of crushing them. If the molds are made well and good quality, then the sidewalls are pretty thick. I mean, you'd have to put heavy stuff on top of it to really crush it, but just make sure that you're taking that extra step to store them in a way that they're not going to get messed up. As your storage system grows, having more room to lay molds flatter and group them by size or type helps preserve their shape and extend their lifespan as well. Instead of focusing on what not to do, it's more helpful to think in terms of building a system that can grow with you. This setup represents a starting point. As more storage space is added, such as a second cabinet, materials can be separated further. One cabinet might focus on resin and consumables, while others can hold molds and tools that are used more frequently during epoxy work. Maybe even extra cheap small molds that still don't have a home. Some tools naturally get used more often during epoxy projects. Things like angle grinders, buffers, sanding pads, and polishing supplies. Keeping those tools nearby improves workflow and helps keep epoxy dust and residue more contained. Most effective shop systems aren't built all at once. They're built in stages. You start with something functional, you use it, and you adjust as your projects and your experiences grow. Epoxy benefits from that kind of approach because good systems reduce variables before any mixing or pouring begins. All of this leads directly into the next step, which is making your own epoxy molds. Once resin is stored correctly and materials are organized, mold design and mold preparation become the next critical pieces. Storage, mold, and workflow all work together. If you're new to epoxy, or maybe just refining your process, focusing on storage and handling early can save time, material, and frustration later. In the next video, we're going to walk through how to make your own epoxy molds and how proper preparation ties directly into successful projects. I'm Josh with JC Woodworks, and until next time, go make some sawdust.